The New York Jets started off this season 0-7 without a win in sight, and everybody was questioning, will the Jets go 0-17? Is this going to be one of those years where the Jets just completely look like they don't belong in the NFL? Well, no. The Jets have now won 2 in a row, and we have a taste of victory in our mouths as Jets fans. Aaron Glenn is now figuring out ways to win football games, and in this video, I want to break down exactly how the Jets are starting to win football games. What's the difference between the first 7 games of the season and these last 2 wins that the Jets got over the Bengals and the Browns? I'm really excited to break it all down in this video. The Jets got a short week as we're taking on the New England Patriots on Thursday. That's going to be a tough game. We shall see if the Jets are going to pull off that upset. We'll save that preview for another video. But in this one, we're going to focus on the Jets winning ways. Is this sustainable? Can the Jets build on this for the rest of the season and start winning some football games? If you guys are not already subscribed to the channel, consider doing so. We got some Jets content lined up for the rest of the season. And don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video. And more importantly, love to hear what you guys have to say in the comments. Jets fans, comment your thoughts. What's your overall thoughts of the Jets winning these last 2 games? What's the difference in these last few matchups of the New York Jets finally coming out on top with victories instead of losses? Now, let's jump right into it. Now, the first thing is, obviously, we have to note the Cincinnati Bengals, the Cleveland Browns are not necessarily great teams, but hey, the Jets usually don't win, regardless of who they're facing off against. The Jets are not even a good team themselves so far. So I feel like you look at the Bengals game, they had Joe Flacco, a red-hot offense, but they did have a terrible defense, and the Jets did take advantage of that. And the Browns, they got a really good defense with a really bad offense, and the Jets were able to get the win. So I want to break down exactly what's the difference. How come the Jets were able to win those games, but not the other ones against bad teams early on in the season? And it's as simple as this, in my opinion. And I feel like you look at the first 7 games the Jets lost, I think 5 of those 7 games were just 1-score games. And I feel like there's a misconception of people looked at the first 7 games of the season when the Jets were 0-7 that they don't belong in the NFL and they're just trash. And Aaron Glenn is just the worst head coach in NFL history all of a sudden. And I understand that he had a lot of things he needed to figure out in terms of showing some aggressiveness, being able to control the clock at the end of the first half, showing signs of discipline because there's a lot of penalties. There's a lot of things that was a big problem early on in the season. The turnovers was a big issue. But a lot of those things that was early on in the season, they're fixed now. I don't know how long it's going to be fixed, but turnovers are down, penalties are down, and they're now finally prioritizing the run, which is obviously the identity of this football team. So I think those things are important. And also, playing their best brand of football in the fourth quarter in these last 2 games against the Bengals and the Browns, the Jets turn it up another notch in the clutch. That is big time because you look at these other games early on in the season, like the game against the Cowboys, even against the Bills, the 2 blowouts, like they start playing better football in the fourth quarter because it was garbage time and no one really cared. They're just putting up empty stats. Justin Fields is going out there and making some plays. Doesn't really matter because the game is over. But week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, that was a thriller that came down to the wire, and a big reason why we lost that game was a turnover, and it really was. Both offenses were hot. Whoever had the ball last was probably going to win. The Jets were unable to get that win. The Jets get blown out by the Bills, and then week 3 against the Buccaneers, that was a winnable game. The Jets came all the way from behind to win, to take the lead. Unfortunately, the defense, they were still trying to figure out their identity, and they were unable to get the stop on Baker Mayfield. And it's crazy to think about that Buccaneers team, a very good football team. All we needed was 1 stop in the fourth quarter, and we would have won that football game after the Will McDonald crazy blocked field goal for a touchdown. But unfortunately, the Jets were unable to do that. And then they go to London against the Broncos. That was another tight 1-score game. Like, you look across, even the Panthers game was 1-score tight. These Jets were so close to getting these victories early on, but now there's something different. And I think a lot of it has to do with the buy-in of what Aaron Glenn has been preaching. And if the Jets players look at Aaron Glenn and they're not really bought into what he's preaching here, they would have been flat right now. The biggest difference I'm seeing with this football team is the energy. And I feel like what I mean by that is they are really playing with a lot of fun. The biggest difference I'm seeing even in these last 2 wins is there's a lot of energy on the sidelines. And I feel like early on in the season, you're not seeing a lot of energy. You're seeing people with their heads down and they're not really believing themselves. But now I feel like there's a new level of confidence all of a sudden, especially when the Jets won that game against the Cleveland Browns. You see Armand Membu dancing after they win the game. Joe Tippmann, the offensive line's getting into it. You see the special teams go out there. You see in the locker room now is starting to get a taste of victory because when the losses kept piling up and piling up. The locker room was just silent. Everybody was looking at each other in the locker room after every loss, like, are we ever going to win? And I feel like that belief is back. And I think that is important here because you always look at Aaron Glenn. He's a rookie head coach. He's trying to figure out new ways to win football games and establish a winning identity. And now these last 2 games, you're seeing this team figure themselves out when it matters the most in the fourth quarter. Against the Cincinnati Bengals, let's not forget, that was a comeback win. Like, the Jets could have easily just been that team that, like, all right, another game we lost. But no, they leveled up their game in the fourth quarter. Breece Hall put the team on his back, had 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, 2 of them on the ground, 1 of them through the air. And I think the coaching staff is doing a really good job of keeping these guys grounded in the locker room, especially at halftime, and really going out there in the second half and playing good football. This sport is all about wins. I don't care about stats. I care about W's. If you're a Jets fan, that's what it matters. Now, is it sustainable to have Justin Fields have 50-plus passing yards in a game and win? No. I mean, that's not going to be able to continue, especially against good teams. But I feel like the fact that the Jets against the Browns were able to win a football game with your quarterback only putting up 50 yards and he had a turnover, that tells you that there's a lot of good things happening around the quarterback, on the defensive side of the ball, on the special team side of the ball. That is a good sign. And guys on the offense that can help elevate the quarterback's game, which is, of course, Breece Hall. So you're seeing these guys, the young players, the core of this team, really coming out and really trying to win football games for Aaron Glenn. And it's something else to note here is when the Jets traded away Sauce and Quinnen, the narrative around the Jets is they're not going to win another game. They got a fluke win against the Bengals. They're not even going to be able to beat the Browns, and they're going to lose everything and finish the season 1-16. But now you beat a Browns team at home in a rainy game against a really tough defense, against a generational talent of Myles Garrett. I understand the Browns are bad like the Jets, more specifically their offense. Dylan Gabriel and their offense is not good, and the defense was able to tee off with 6 total sacks, which is really good. There's a lot of confidence being built here. And now you have the Patriots and the Ravens back-to-back. I mean, that's not going to be easy to be able to get back in the win column. But I'll say this, bro. If the Jets figure out a way to beat the Patriots on Thursday night, oh boy, it is going to be crazy in Jets land. I mean, I'm not really expecting it. I feel like a lot has to go the Jets' way, and the Jets don't have Garrett Wilson. If you guys missed that news, Garrett Wilson is officially out for the next 3 to 4 weeks because he re-injured his knee, and now we're going to see a lot of energy in that wide receiver room. A.D. Mitchell's going to make his Jets debut. John Mechie, who's going to step up for Garrett Wilson? The Jets won 2 games without Garrett Wilson, and that's crazy. And without Sauce Gardner, by the way. So if you look at these other guys that are going to fill in for the stars on this team, who's going to fill in for the stars that we traded away? Who's filling in for Sauce? Who's filling in for Quinnen? Well, A.Z. Thomas, the Jets' rookie corner, unfortunately went out in that game against the Browns with a concussion. I do not expect him to be back on Thursday night, so don't really expect Thomas to be back. He's the guy that's replacing Sauce. Mozzie Smith, he's replacing Quinnen in terms of just roster-wise. I don't see him as a starter yet, but I'm excited to see Mozzie Smith, the Jets defensive tackle that we got from the Cowboys, get a little bit more comfortable on this defensive line. And then at the wide receiver position, A.D. Mitchell and John Mechie, these guys, I don't really see them getting a lot of targets because the Jets just don't really pass a lot, but they need to. And that's something I wanted to talk about in this video as well is, at what point are the Jets going to open up the playbook a little bit more? You look at Justin Fields, he's not really the quarterback that you can trust to push the ball down the field vertically. He's not somebody that really knows how to pass the ball effectively. And without Garrett Wilson, going up against New England, even if for an example, they're really good at stopping the run. They have not allowed a running back to rush for more than 55 yards this season. So it's going to be really hard for the Jets to be able to move the ball down the field when they're just prioritizing the run, especially without Garrett Wilson. They got to open up the pass attack. So will the winning ways that they were able to do against the Bengals and Browns, is that sustainable? Every game has their own story to tell, and the special teams unit, I really do think, is a secret weapon here, because the kick return and the punt return the Jets got for a touchdown, some people are like, oh yeah, well, that's the only reason why the Jets won. It's because they got a kick return and a punt return. Great. I mean, what's wrong with that? I mean, why are we making that into a negative all of a sudden? If the Jets can really dominate on special teams and have a mindset that they can win games on that phase of the ball, that is a really good thing. The Jets are one of the best teams in the entire NFL on special teams. And I feel like some people don't want to give credit where it's due. And I think so many people were hypercritical of Aaron Glenn early on. Well, now, why can't we give him the flowers where it's deserved? Holding this team together. You know how hard it is to keep a team together when they're facing adversity in the face? And I always said that this team, it's going to go through a lot of adversity before we get back on the other side, hopefully in the win column. I said it's going to get ugly before it gets pretty, and boy, was it ugly for this football team early on in the season. And Aaron Glenn embraces that mindset, man, which is why I guess I just have a different mindset when it comes to this Jets football team this season in particular. When you look at Aaron Glenn's press conference when he opened up as the Jets head coach, when they first hired him, he said, this is going to be a bumpy ride, and we're the freaking New York Jets. We're built for this, meaning that this team, and Aaron Glenn in particular, is embracing the challenge, embracing the adversity and the struggle in order to come out on the other side. And if you thought that this season was going to be all dandy and all easy and just dominant football, and the Jets are back, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. The Jets are not that good talent-wise. They don't have a quarterback that is here long-term. I know there's some people watching the video that probably doesn't like me saying that because they believe in Justin Fields. I'm sorry, I'm just keeping it real. I did not believe in Fields entering the season. I don't believe him now. I don't think he's a long-term answer. I think you can win with Justin. I do. They proved it the last 2 weeks, but is it sustainable? So I think you look at all those factors. You got to keep holding on to the rope with Aaron Glenn, man, because the way that they won against the Bengals, that was a team that never gave up and showed their relentless effort to keep going, grit, mindset that is all about grit. And that's something that this Jets football team has been preaching since training camp. And then the Browns game, you go into halftime, Aaron Glenn ripped into them, challenged these guys. And there's so many examples you can bring up about how the Jets were able to win that game, whether it was individual players or the collective effort. And I think the collective energy of all three phases of the ball connecting when it mattered the most, special teams coming off with a big start of the game, 2 touchdowns, defense really holding their ground in the second half, offense. This is what it's about. It's a team sport, and I think what the Jets are trying to do with Aaron Glenn right now, and Darren Mucci, of course, personnel-wise, with all the ammunition they have, it's an absolute joy. Now, when it comes to the rest of the season, what exactly are we looking for? I want wins, man. And I know that pisses some people off. They really care about the draft more than anything, and I don't want to keep beating a dead horse. I don't really care about it that much in terms of, how fans want to be fans. I think every Jets fan has a right to be a fan the way they want to be a fan. But from my perspective, man, there's nothing more that I want is to see Aaron Glenn coach this team to victories. We need to taste wins as Jets fans, man. I don't want to be on the bottom of the NFL every year. I just don't want that. I want this team to prove that they can level up guys on this roster that they drafted in the mid-rounds, guys they brought in free agencies, like seeing young players step up and make winning plays because the coaches are coaching them up to put them in those situations. That is a huge, huge positive. And that's really how I look at it. Now, the 2 wins in a row is a good feeling, and I understand it could get quickly ugly with the Patriots up next. But at the end of the day, I think the Jets are figuring out ways to win, and the reason for it is simply buying into what Aaron Glenn is preaching and being disciplined and cleaning up what was the issues early on in the season. That is the big thing I wanted to make sure that this video was about, is early on in the season, the Jets were losing in ways that was pretty much the same every week, losing the turnover battle and having more penalties than the other team. That's fixed. The Jets are not penalized anymore. They're not turning the ball over as much, and now they're winning all of a sudden in 2 weeks. That's why you got to allow the team, this young team, to learn. I know that's a crazy concept, but allow the team, the coach in particular, to learn on the job. Let him go through mistakes, and I'm always somebody. I've always been this way. I like when people go through mistakes and learn from them. Because if you're so quick to just rip off a Band-Aid when somebody makes a mistake, you're not even giving them the chance to learn from it. I mean, come on. That's not even just football. That's life in general. If you get hired at a job and, it's your first month on the job and you make a few mistakes and they just fire you right away, let's let that employee learn on the job so they can learn from their mistakes so they know not to make them. Now, if they repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again, that's when we have a problem, right? But at this point, I have not seen Aaron Glenn repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again. When he mismanaged the first half, at the end of the first half, I forgot which game it was. Maybe it was the Broncos game. He hasn't made that mistake again. When he has the penalty issues, that's not a mistake. So I'm not seeing this team making the same mistakes over and over again. I'm seeing them change their approach and figuring out new ways to win. And that's all that matters. Can this Jets football team find ways to win? I don't care about the stats. Can they find out wins? That's the stat I care about. W's, W's, W's. If you guys stayed to the end of the video, comment down below a plain emoji. Really do appreciate the love and the support that you guys continuously show on the channel all season long. A lot of energy around this Jets fan base, good and bad, but always love to make these videos and talk some Jets with you guys. Feel free to comment your thoughts, hit the thumbs up button, and a big shout out to Sleeper, as always, for being the proud sponsor of Jets Media all season long. If you guys want to check them out, the link is at the top of the description. Use the code JETS, and you will get a 100% deposit match up to $100. Big time shout out to Sleeper as always. If you use the code JETS, you'll get a lot of fun things and bet responsibly as always. Terms and conditions apply. Legal in 25 states. Big shout out to Sleeper as always. A great way to support the channel is by supporting the sponsors. In this case, it is Sleeper. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you did not already, hit the thumbs up button. I'm out of here, folks, and let's go Jets. Peace.